to another episode of ISbn-depth. Today we're going undercover to discuss literary espionage, but before we get caught, we have to discuss our super secret upcoming programs. We will try to keep it low-key, but our excitement over summer reading may just blow our cover.
Just applause. Nothing but applause for that right there. If you guys don't understand why we're cracking up so much, if you watched our last episode, you may have noticed the extremely cheesy writing for the introduction because I let Sam write it. And so I told her whatever she put on the page, I would read. And so I got her back this time, but I actually kind of liked it.
Yeah, you did a really good job. I'm not even mad about it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to give myself a little pat on the back there.
And we need to do outtakes. I know we didn't have any outtakes, but I can just be like extra dramatic.
Extra dramatic.
Yeah.
Just like everything comes on. Anyways, so upcoming programs and events, like she mentioned, we do have summer reading. We're going to go over some stuff that we've already talked about with you guys before last episode, but it's officially June, so it's always a good reminder. It may be past by the time you guys get to watch this, but the summer reading kickoff event is June 2nd here at KFL. That's going to be from 10 to 12 p.m., and that is where the kiddos can be going through their little spy training academy. We're going to have tons of different stuff for them to do, different crafts and activities, and everyone from all three branches can come to that. That's not just KFL.
Yeah, and then I know, like, what we talked about a bit in our staff meetings is, like, the kids are going to come through, and they're going to get their photographs, and they're going to get their spy aliases, and they're going to get their confidential folder probably given to them by super secret agent Ben Bond.
Yes, very much so, and we are all so excited for Mr. Ben Bond to come through.
There's going to be snacks, and I think maybe even a laser hallway and some stuff.
Yeah, you guys will get to scan into some secret vaults, see some, invisible ink action, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that I can convince everyone to let me go through, but I'm young.
Yeah,
right?
You're young enough. You're the youngest staff member. So.
True. Anyways, going through our big programs. So week 1, that's June 8th through the 9th, we have a magician Rudy. I believe we've had him before for some programs in the past. So if you guys remember Magician Rudy, feel free to come on by. He's going to be here again June 8th and 9th. The second week, June 15th and 16th, we have Spoon Man Jim Cruz. And I've never seen Mr. Spoon Man, but that sounds cool.
I feel like he was here last year too, but I can't guarantee it. Now I know
He may have been.
I know our next guy is.
Yes, and that leads to week 3, June 22nd, 23rd. Mr. Bonds, the science guy. I believe he was here.
He was here. We could hear his kids screaming down the hall. They were having a blast. He's probably one of their favorite.
And I think he's our favorite too. Honestly, it's just really fun whenever you can hear it happening, and so then you kind of get drawn into it and to see what's going on. And then week 4, we are actually taking a little field trip. So that's going to be Friday, June 30th from 10 to 12. We are going to Beyond the Lens in Pigeon Forge. So that's going to be super fun. I think this is one of the first times in a while that we've left the building for summer reading. So everyone here is super excited for that.
So just to reiterate, double check on what branch and by like either calling them or picking up the actual official pamphlet, because when we say 8th and 9th and 15th and 16th, they'll be, I think KFL always going to be on the first day, but I can't remember if I think it's KFL and Kodak are going to be on the first day and Seymour is going to be on the second day, but double check for the times and stuff, and you don't have to sign up for those events. You can just show up and and speaking of summer reading events, they're not just for the kids. We have some adult programming going on. So week 1 for KFL, June 8th, we have the Succulent Spy Gnome and the Spy Who Loved Me movie showing. Unfortunately, that one is already filled up.
Yes, it is completely full.
But on June 8th, you can call and in first thing in the morning call, and then you can be put on the the list for the next one, which would be on June 15th, 6 to 7:30, Mysterious Watermelon Wall / Door Hanging. These were kind of rough for names. They were stretching for that.
I know.
And then week 3 is June 22nd, 6:30 to 7:30, I Spy Seashell Flowers, which is a cute name.
It is a cute name. Much better than Mysterious Watermelon Hanging Decoration.
I'm just gonna look at that one the whole time. And they also, the adults get to do the Beyond the Lens too. That would be the 4th week, so that's everybody.
Correct.
So moving on to Seymour, they have 2 adult programming events. June 6th, 4:30 to 6:30, they have Mosaic Tile Trivets. I don't know what a trivet is. It's a square thing on a picture. But I wonder if it's one of those things like a spoon rest or something like that. I'm not 100% sure.
Honestly, I just got stuck on how you pronounced it.
Is it trivet? How do you spell it?
Trivets.
Trivets? 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 We'll get
if
back.
If Ben can't answer it, we can't answer it. So leave that up to your imagination how you'd like to pronounce that word.
I just would a doubt make it vaguely French. June 20th, 4:30 to 6:30 at Seymour, alcohol, ink, and die cut greeting cards. Mm-hmm. The example photos looked a little bit like a Polaroid, in my opinion. In a good way, they just look like Polaroid. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Kodak has 1 adult programming. It's June 12th, 4 to 5:30. It's pressed flower Mandela Suncatcher, and that actually looks really neat.
That one, we had those pamphlets sitting on the KFL desk by accident. Mm-hmm. And I sat there and I went to grab it to make the script, and I was like, that looks so cool, I want to do that. And then I saw down at the bottom, it was like Kodak branch, and I was like, dang it. But we do have some really cool stuff at KFL, but don't underestimate what Kodak and Seymour have, because they always do cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think last year one of them did soap making, which I thought was really neat. But anyway, for, Seymour and Kodak, make sure to call those branches to sign up. We can't sign you up at those at KFL. That's, sorry. Correct. We wish we could, but we can't. Yeah. So, and there's always a limit to how many adults can sign up, so the sooner you call, the better. Mm-hmm.
And that limit may also change depending on the program, because there's some things that determine, like, they need more
cost of supplies and things like that.
The cost is a little bit more expensive, or like she said, with the branches, they don't have as much room. Mm-hmm. Not everyone has a big Birchfield, conference room. So just call and check in with that.
All right, so that moves on to the reading log and canisters.
Yes, reading logs. So make sure you guys are turning in your reading logs every Friday. If for some reason you guys can't get here on a Friday, if you guys come in on a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever, go ahead and bring that to reference. We will go ahead and give you your coupons and give you more reading logs, but we just say Friday because it's a very good, easy day to remember, and it's a good reminder that it is weekly. So make sure you guys are turning that in at the reference desk. We're the only desk in the building that will take it.
In KFL, I think at
KFL, yes.
Seymour and Kodak might be front desk. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure on that. You guys can just call or ask them in person. Either way, whenever you guys are turning it in, they'll figure that out for you. But make sure you guys always pick up reading logs to replace the ones you turn in, because obviously if you don't, you won't have anything for the next week in any way to get your coupons in. Mm-hmm. But if you guys don't want to register for summer reading, we do have canisters at the circulation desk and at reference.
Mm-hmm. I think there's also one in children and teens,
too.
There
probably is. And so with that is, if you don't want to sign up, but you have read a book and you still want to be put in for a drawing, because we do have some, like, summer reading prizes, but you don't have to register for it to participate. So they're like little Rubbermaid Tupperware containers with a little slit in the top with little slips of paper already cut out for you to fill out. So whether you're an adult, a teenager, a child, any of you guys that haven't registered for summer reading, you guys can take that little slip of paper, put your phone number, your name, as well as the title of the book you read, fold it up and put it in the canister. If for some reason you guys are filling those slips out and you notice that you accidentally filled out the wrong age group, or there's nothing left for your age group, just let us know. We have more copies that we can give you to fill out and cut.
And make sure that, so you can, there's either the reading logs or the canisters. You can't double dip in prizes.
Double dip. Yeah.
But
that is cheating.
Yeah, it is cheating, and you have to have a really good disguise to be able to slip by us with an alias.
I mean, we are going to be talking about espionage.
Yeah. So. I want a Sonic Vanilla Cone for my reading log.
Did you?
Yeah.
I sat there and I registered for summer reading as soon as we could. And then the reading log has been sitting in my drawer downstairs for a week. So I need to fill mine out. But I can't remember what this week's coupon is. I think it may be like a sweet tea or something from McDonald's.
I don't remember, but there's they're all pre-sorted, and they're sorted by age groups too.
And with that, I know, especially once you get down to like the end of summer reading, a lot of people, especially last year, thought that they could just kind of pick and choose what coupons they wanted. None of that. So if you guys are unhappy with your coupon, feel free to give it back to us. You don't have to take it, but it is yours and it is free. And, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So,
but also, if you want to be more choosy, talk to your local businesses and get them into working with us.
If there's something where you're like, how on earth do you guys not have coupons from this one business? It would be so easy. Let us know, first off. And second off, talk to them. Especially if you have an in somewhere.
Or if you own a business.
Or if you own a business, exactly. And you guys would love to see those coupons put in for summer reading next year. Feel free to go out and do that and do some outreach and talk to us, and we'll see what we can do. But as far as this summer, if you get a coupon that you're like, I probably won't use this, give it away, or just don't take it at all. But unfortunately, you guys cannot pick which coupons you want for each week. So
after the reading canisters, our next topic is summer feeding. A little bit of a reminder, because we mentioned it last month.
Yeah.
Summer feeding returns June 5th, which is a Monday. So here at King Family and at Seymour Branch, breakfast is served from 10 to 11, and then there's a break, and then lunch is from 1 to 2. It's for kids 2 to 18. But they have to show up in person to pick up their stuff. You can take it home with you, but the kid has to show up in person to get their food pack and their milk, and then they can go. But we usually have little games and stuff. And we understand, like, if people are, like, busy, like, you know, you can only drop off your kid once a day. You can kind of let them linger. We're public space. I mean, as long as they're not, like, little kids, but...
Yeah, there is an age limit for how old you can be before you can stay here without a guardian.
Yeah.
But we do have, like she said, we have resource items out every single time we do summer feeding. And those items change for breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there and you leave your child there for a little while, there's going to be multiple things for them to do on top of waiting for the food to be ready to pick up.
And, I mean, we're just, you know, generally library. You know, you can go upstairs to the teen room or the children's room. Lisa and Jessica are always around. You know, there's plenty of books, plenty of games, the internet if all else fails.
Yeah.
So,
and
Kodak has summer feeding also, but theirs is a little different. So they're going to serve lunch from 1 to 2, and then they have a snack from 3 to 4. And summer feeding will end on August 4th. And then shortly after, I think school starts. Not immediately, but, like, pretty close.
Yep.
So, yeah, that covers it for summer's feeding.
Yeah. The only other thing program-wise that we did want to mention to you guys is I feel like a lot of people forget that during the day and also, like, in the after-school hours, we have so many programs and events going on 24/7. Whether it's a computer class with Ben or pretty soon with Ben Bond, or it's a cookbook club, any book club, or just an after-school activity, a crafting class with Vicky, even the Facebook Lives that she does at all 3 branches. There's constantly something for everyone, no matter your location or your age. So we always like to remind you guys of that. If you guys have any questions, feel free. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also just watch our website. We always update our program booklet digitally. And then we also have the program booklet we constantly tell you guys about. And like one event, for example, Seymour is having their Friends of the Library at Seymour on June 20th at 7 p.m. They're doing another session of How We Live Then and Now. This time it's going to be Midsummer Night Tales, bringing ancient stories to modern times with Susan Fulbright. So we just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's a really cool idea what they're doing. So...
And finally, before we get into the discussion of Spies, June is Rainbow Book Month. Here at KFL, we're going to celebrate equity, inclusion, and diversity. So people of different races, ethnicities, people that are differently able, different sexual orientations, things like that. We have a few recs if you need some recs. Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe. which is these I think are all in. Yeah, they're all YA, actually, because I've read them, and I read a lot of YA. Magic Fish, which is... so Aristotle and Dante's, like, set in the 80s, and with two Hispanic guys. And then Magic Fish is... I keep wanting to say Korean, but it might be Vietnamese. I think Eastern Asia. And it's a graphic novel, and it's beautifully done. And it discusses, like... folk tales and things like that. Their version of Cinderella and Little Mermaid and things like that. And so it's beautifully done, and it's done by a author of color, and he illustrated it and wrote the book for it.
Oh, that's cool.
He also made a tarot deck, which I own, which I didn't realize he did the tarot deck, and then I looked, I was like, this looks familiar, and the art's like, exactly, yeah. And then The Sun is Also a Star, which was made into a movie.
I was going to ask that. I feel like I can remember the movie poster in my head, because I feel like the guy who played in it, wasn't he from Riverdale or something like that?
Maybe. I don't watch Riverdale.
Okay.
But
I stopped watching Riverdale a long time ago, but I noticed the actors. It looked really cool. I just never got to go see it.
And that's featuring two characters of color navigating, contemporary times. I think themes include, like, immigration and deportation and things like that. It was a really good book. My friend got it for me for Christmas one year, and it was really good. And it talks about other stuff about, like, families and, kind of sometimes becoming disenchanted with your parents, but then also seeing your parents as people. Like, there's a lot of different
topics covered.
Yeah, it was a really, really good book. I wonder if we have the movie. I never thought to look, but...
We might.
Yeah. So it's something, if you don't want to read a book, watch a movie.
True.
Which, speaking of movies, so I'm always the reader. I'm always reading stuff. So this go around, I challenged myself to watch a TV show, because I'm like, I love watching TV, as I say, that I never do it. Same with movies. I love movies, I say, as I never go watch them. So for this one, I did the show called The Americans. Lisa Christian had actually recommended it to me, like, several months ago. I think it's got about 5 seasons. We've got them all on DVD. If you don't want to watch them on DVD, they're also on Hulu if you have that available to you. But it's a really, really fun show. So it's based in the 1980s United States, and it's two secret S, I think they're S agents for the KGB. Okay. And they've basically been trained to look and sound like Americans as they infiltrate. And so you follow these this couple who have had children, and the children don't know their parents are KGB spies. Like, they don't even speak Russian, they're just Americans. So you've got the main couple, and then right across from them moves an FBI agent who works in counterintelligence.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, and then you get into things like, there's the Russian Residentura, which is their kind of diplomacy, but I can't think of it. Pausing for a second. Ben, what's it called? When you, like, in other countries, you have, like, the consulate? Is that the word I'm looking for? Consulate? Where you usually, like, if you're in another country and you're, like, the American...
Embassy?
Embassy?
Embassy's the building.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. I couldn't think of the word. Okay. I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway. And then you've got, like, side plots that involve, like, the Russian embassy and how they, like, are working with the KGB and things like that. There's this little subplot. I thought it was hilarious. So the KGB send this assassin to go kill American scientists, but then they decide they don't want the assassin to kill the American scientists. So the KGB talks to their spies, and they're like, well, what's he look like? We can't tell. Like, they don't give them hardly any information. Oh my God. So what they end up doing, the two KGB spies, is setting up sort of like, not a fake explosion, because it was an explosion, a fake situation to get the FBI to, like, watch the American scientists. And so these two people are going to get in the car, and then they're like, oh, the car's not working. So the gentleman gets out and looks, and he opens the hood, and the whole time you've got the KGB spy narrating it, but he's being, like, so bland about it. He's like, oh no, the car won't start, I wonder why. And then he opens it up, and then this is the bomb. So the guy freaks out and grabs his wife and backs up, and he's like, oh no, and he hits the button and it blows up, and he's like, there, now they'll watch their scientists. Oh my God. It was funny. It is for mature audiences, because Spies, I guess, do sexual favors to get information, whatever it takes. Yeah.
I mean, I guess when you look at other,
it's like James Bond.
Like James Bond, you know, there's always some woman.
Yeah, but if you're a little sensitive to watching, I wouldn't say it's as bad as like HBO Game of Thrones, but it's not PG. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. Especially towards like the last few episodes, I was like, come on. But no, it was really good. I'm probably gonna watch season 2 where season 1 left off. So, I don't know how soon I'll do it. It helps when I have the podcast to be like, this is my job to watch this TV show. Don't talk to me, Mom. So, but I do have a few recs for books. The Spy Family manga, and then also has an anime, and it's really funny. It's got the main characters are a spy who has to infiltrate this established school, but of course he's a grown man, so he has to adopt a daughter. And the daughter he adopts, Anya, she's a telepath, so she knows he's a spy. Well, then this school's so super strict, it's like basically set in like think of it as Germany post World War II, and they're on the eastern side, eastern bloc, basically. So they get into the school, but they have to have a complete set parent, a mom and a dad. You can't just be a single parent. So then he has to go find a wife, and he finds a wife who's an assassin who works for his, because he's from the west and she's from the east, and of course the assassin doesn't know he's a spy, and the spy doesn't know she's an assassin, but the little girl
knows both.
Knows that they both are spies and assassins, and later that they get a dog who can see into the future. It's really funny.
That sounds fantastic.
But I know KFL has most of the series. It's only about 8 or 9 volumes out right now, and then I think Seymour recently got in the set. So they're really fun, and it's something fun to get the kids into, but also I think adults would really enjoy it. Like I'm having a blast. It's a fun series. And then I don't watch a lot of Spies Kids. I was struggling. I was looking at Lana's recommendations. I'm surprised you didn't say Spy Kids.
I figured you would, or someone would. That's something that like everyone was like, why didn't you put Spy Kids on the list? I feel like it's obvious, but it is good. Don't get me wrong. Like watching Spy Kids was a big part of my childhood, especially when the 4D movie came out.
Yeah.
I can still remember sitting in the movie theater. My grandma had taken me and my brother, and it was our first ever like 4D movie. And I remember like the scratch and sniff card or whatever, and it was just like dirty diapers. I was like, what was the point of this? Like, was there really any reason to make this movie 4D except for the fact that it'd be cool?
The only other movie I ever remember having a scratch and sniff was so scratch and stuff.
Oh gosh, Sam. I love how Ben's just like
he's not paying attention.
That's like the funniest thing ever. Oh gosh. I'm like crying. We're gonna need a solid minute on that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Scratch and stuff.
Least favorite position. Oh,
this is a kid's show.
I know.
This is a family show.
But we were talking about sex with the spies.
Sure.
Dude, there was this one part in Americans where she's, obviously working a guy, and he takes his belt off, or he's spanking her a few times, and she's like, okay, and then he takes his belt off and beats her with it. And then he takes the metal part, and he's gonna hit her with it. And I was like, shit. Okay. Anyway, sorry, speaking of weird moments in that show.
Anyway.
So the only other time I remember having a scratch and sniff card was there was a Rugrats movie. It was I think the Rugrats Wild Thornberrys crossover movie, and like you bought the movie. Like I
remember that.
Yeah, and it came with the disc, and it was a scratch and sniff. And I remember I think there was pickles in it or something, but it was one of those like that's the only time I've ever experienced that.
I remember that movie. I can't remember the 4D aspect of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was very much like a very early 2000s trend that didn't really take off after that.
And honestly, I don't blame it. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like you're working while watching the movie because you have to watch for when the symbol comes up.
Yeah,
or
you have to scratch it, yeah.
Anyways.
And then, anyway, my last recommendation for spy books is Codename Verity. I had a teacher in high school recommend that to me. It was new at the time. I think she'd read it, and I got done reading it, and because she goes, one of these characters reminds me of you, and I'm like, oh, really? And I read it, and I realized what character she meant. And it was a compliment, but also I cried.
Really?
I cried. That book was rough.
Oh
Recommend it though, 10 out of 10. It's a World War II spy novel.
Well, that kind of goes into what my pick was, I guess, then. So I actually, you guys would be so proud of me. Not only did I finish the book last month, I finished the book I was reading this month for the podcast, which means the streak has ended of me not doing my job. So I read The Librarian Spy, because obviously it's the title is just perfect, you know. I'm a librarian. I like espionage. So it's like, why not? But The Librarian Spy was actually really good. I'd probably give it, like, out of a 5-star rating, I'd probably only give it a 4. I wouldn't go higher than that. But it is World War II. It is a dual narrative, but it's not in first person at the same time. It's still third person, but it goes back and forth. So it starts in, I think, 1943. It's either 1943 or 1941. And Ava Harper, who is a librarian at the Library of Congress, gets kind of recruited to go over to Lisbon, Portugal, where she's trying to help the Allies just try and get as much information they can about the Germans from all of these foreign and also German newsprints and stuff like that. So she's having to, like, convert it all to microfilm and help try and send as much over as humanly possible. So it starts with her going from DC to Lisbon, and then it switches and goes to Helen, who ends up having to change her name to Elaine, because she gives away her identity card to a woman in need. Mm-hmm. There was a Jewish woman that just, like, randomly shows up at her door. This is in Lyon, France, by the way. Same time frame. And she ends up having to give away her identity card, and it's just like, I can't not do anything to help this person. So she gives away her identity, and then right after gets stopped by German officers, and then her husband's best friend shows up out of nowhere and is like, Elaine, you left your ID card on the kitchen table again. And she has to assume this whole new identity. So when I say Elaine, it's actually not her real name, but that's the name she kind of ends up going by. But it is very cool. She ends up working, she finds out that her husband's been arrested after they had a big fight.
Talk about the guilt.
Huh?
Talk about the guilt.
Yeah. Well, it's the guilt is horrible in this book. It's massive because she ends up having this big blowout fight with her husband, Joseph, basically saying, because she wanted to do something about the Germans occupying the free zone in France, but her husband was like, no, you just need to be a housewife. Like, you don't need to get involved. Mm-hmm. And so she kind of started to resent him for that. And it turns out that her husband actually went by a code name, Pierre, mm-hmm. and was working for the resistance in France. So he was trying to protect his wife, but she ended up, like, resenting him for the fact that he was just passive, mm-hmm. when it turns out he was actually, like, one of the biggest players in the resistance in France. Mm-hmm. So she ends up, when her husband gets captured, she ends up working for the resistance, and obviously her husband's not around to tell her no. Mm-hmm. But he, spoiler, ends up dying in a work camp and gets sent off. So she's like torn apart, mm-hmm. and she had sent him like all these letters, like, I love you, I'm sorry. And you don't find out until the very end that he actually did receive it. He like dies with the letter in his hand. It's really sad. But the two girls their storylines don't really match up until like right at the end, mm-hmm. Because Ava finds like one of her secret codes imprinted in one of the newspapers that Helen or Elaine actually printed. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool. At first I thought it was going to be a little too slow for me. Like, I was wanting it to like pick up pace. But eventually when the storylines started to match up and get closer and closer together, it got really cool. So it was interesting. But Only other thing I would say about espionage, literary espionage, I do have a few recommendations, none of which are actually on the table if you're watching this, but This Means War. I don't know, have you ever seen This Means War?
No.
Okay, it has Chris Pine in it.
Ooh.
First reason to watch it. Reese Witherspoon. Next reason to watch it. It's an adult movie, but it's not like too raunchy. But it's just really funny. It's like these two spies that end up falling for Reese Witherspoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of them end up like really wanting to date her, and then of course they're spies, so they backstab each other.
So it's just like a gag as they're trying to...
Yeah, basically. So it goes back and forth. She's just like, well, I'll date them both until I figure out which one I want.
Yeah.
And then it just turns into, like, pure chaos. So, another one that I wasn't sure would really count, it's more of, like, FBI agent undercover, but Miss Congeniality. Okay, and I need an opinion. Does it count?
I've never watched Miss Congeniality.
You've never watched Miss Congeniality?
I've never watched Miss Congeniality.
Okay, I don't care what the next episode is. That's your homework, is you have to watch at least the first one. The second one really does not matter, in my opinion, but the first movie is so good. It's like a comfort movie for me.
I'll consider it.
You can't just consider it. You have to. It's a requirement at this point. So I don't care what anyone says. If you've never watched it, I'm counting it as a spy movie. Watch Miss Congeniality. Sandra Bullock is awesome. Charlie's Angels. I grew up watching that, obviously. Agent Cody Banks for all my Disney people.
I forgot about that one.
I know.
What about Kim Possible?
I know. And I totally forgot. I literally looked up Kim Possible, and I was just like, you know what? I missed this show. And I thought the coolest thing ever when I was growing up was when people made the theme song their ringtone.
Yeah.
And, like, their text tone, like the beep beep, whatever. I thought that was the coolest thing. I don't know why. But I, like, wanted to be her growing up.
I thought she was pretty cool.
She was pretty cool. Last one is G-Force. Have you ever seen G-Force?
No, but I remember it, like, coming out.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the hamsters?
Yes, the one with the hamsters.
Oh.
Ben says boo, but... Oh, okay. Not seeing it? Okay. But yeah, it is the one with the hamsters. So, G-Force was an absolute hit when it came out, okay? I kid you not, I've watched that movie a million times growing up as a kid. But it is the one with the hamsters, and they're all, like, little special agents, you know, rolling around in their little balls and going on missions and stuff like that. They are the coolest people ever.
I'm not watching it.
You are watching
I am not watching it.
Listen, I'm going to go home and I'm going to make a whole entire list of my childhood that Sam is just completely spoiling right now. So you have to be a part of it.
To be fair, my parents growing up, not that we couldn't watch, we just didn't watch a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of, like, the cult classics I've never seen. I've had to go back and watch them as an adult on my own occasionally. And some of them aren't that, like, my friend really liked The Labyrinth with David Bowie.
There's some stuff like that I never saw.
I didn't care for that.
But you have to watch.
Watched Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was fine. Didn't care for it. So, I don't know. I feel like I get let down by some of the classics.
Well, I don't know if many people would consider G-Force a classic. Obviously, it's a classic in my book. But if you've never seen G-Force, it's on Disney Plus, I'm sure. Go home and just watch it, okay? It's the funniest, best show ever. I really don't know if it's funny. I can't remember that much, but it's good.
Does Megamind count as a spy drama?
I guess.
Because he's, like, in disguise for half the movie.
Listen, there's so many things that I, like, sat there and I thought about, and I was like, you know what? This would probably fall under the, like, spy, secret agent category.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I just don't think of it that way. Like, Mission Impossible, obviously. What's the... Oh, gosh. It's the one with Matt Damon. Do you know which one I'm talking about? No? Crap. There's a lot out there with, like, big names that I, like, don't really think about. Like, even Angelina Jolie, she's been in, I think, Salt. That was one that she was in that's technically spy-themed. So there's a lot that could be talked about.
Well, we're going to wrap it up on the spy thing because I'm quickly finding myself in over my head because I don't do a whole lot of spy stuff. But sneak peek, if you will, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to watch next month's podcast. We're actually having a bonus podcast as long as we get our ducks in a row. We forgot about it. So
yeah.
That one's going to be a look at our how a librarian manages her shelves at home.
Or doesn't manage her shelves at home. Whichever one I fall into, I guess.
And then, so we'll be looking at, like, how much we have on our shelves, how much we've read on our shelves, does the library help us read things on our shelves, or does it hinder us?
Do we use the library as much as we should? The answer to that is no.
Oh, I generally do. I'm pretty good.
I don't, and I'm so sorry.
And then our main podcast in July is going to be Lana's last one. I'll never say never for forever, but
yeah,
she's going off to UT College to higher and better places.
Or to more expensive places, however you want to say.
45-minute drive away at most, but I'm going to miss her. But so as a treat for her, we're doing the Rory Gilmore reading challenge.
Yes, and I'm sure I've talked about the Gilmore Girls. And I was actually looking, because obviously you can find like the big Rory Gilmore reading list. I found a book that should be on there because I remember the reference and I found evidence of the reference that's not listed on the list that we found. So we'll talk about that.
Okay, so we might have to... So far, though, the list we were looking at had 339 books on it. So.
Yes. So you might as well make it 340. Yeah. I'm going to prove whoever made that list wrong. And I'm going to feel great about myself.
Yeah, you're going to call out this one person who made the list, like, how many years ago?
I'm going to be like, I have a complaint. I want to speak to your manager. But I think I need to chop my hair before I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was, I think, everything we got to hit on. We got... June bonus podcast should be out around the 15th, and then July's podcast, and then Alexis will be
joining us in August.
And I don't remember what we're doing for that, so
we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, it's planned. I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that ends it. I think we gotta go so she can watch G-Force before we have to
not watching G-Force.
Do anything else, or at least Miss Congeniality. So. Thank you, Ben, as always, and thank you to everyone watching. We love you guys, and we'll see you next month.
You're going to torture me?
Yes.